What's up, Stripe Nation? Blake Albertson here with B&B Lawn Care. In this video, we're going to take you through the steps to get to this point in a pond build. So, underlayment's in, the liner's in. We are starting to put some boulders and rocks and forming them around the pond.
There we go, there it is! Woo! My name is Chris Wilson with Aquascape, and I'm really excited today because I haven't had a build a pond day like this. First of all, that was dry, no rain, sun's going to be beating on us, it's going to be nice. Second of all, it looks like a hard-working group here, so we're all planning on getting dirty, I hope. My goal here today is to keep us on task for the 20 products, 20 steps, to show you guys how we do it back in Chi-Town. Every single day with our standard crew of 5, we get an 11 by 16 pond, 10-foot stream, done. We show up the job site 7:30, we're done by 4:30 in the afternoon. We walk away, cash in hand, check, credit card, whatever, with no problems. No matter what we run into, typically we'll get it done. Continually building that relationship with that homeowner. What you'll also start to recognize, you can, any of our certified aquascape contractors here can tell you, once they get one pond, or one water feature, they'll go through 3 or 4 in their lifetime. They'll always want to upgrade. They'll always want to add it. They'll always want something a little bit different. Appreciate you. 5 years down the road. Here we got Blake. He's already got 2. He's already on a second water feature with the urn. He's going to probably change up that urn. It's the same basin. He'll probably change it up to a sphere ball or an urn, or he'll do something a little bit more custom. Once he sits with this, his fish are going to outgrow this pond, and it's going to wrap around, or he's going to do a double waterfall because he's going to realize, well, I really don't see, this water feature from, that window here. I want to get one over on this backside. It's just staying in front of your customer and having fun with stuff like this. So to get the day started, this is typically what happens. The construction crew rolls up just like you see there, trucks, trailers, pulling all these tools out of the trailer. The foreman, typically Kevin, where's he at? Who's on the job? You or your brother usually? Usually me. Okay. So he pulls out, what he does is he gets out of the truck, puts it in park. We just started something right there, by the way. Yeah. Puts the car in park, walks in the back with the spray can, tries to remember the shape of it. It's the kit, remembers the homeowner, maybe he has notes, Brian has notes. If Chris sold it, Chris has notes. If Brian sold it, back in Chicago. And we lay out the pond, and that's step 1. Generally, step 1 occurs with the homeowner. We'll literally pull out the garden hose with the homeowner, and we'll lay it out for the homeowner, but in a basic oval shape. In my head, I'm already thinking 11 by 16 is the max size that I'm going to get right here, so I'm going to stick to that size. I'll take that garden hose and I'll lay it out in a basic oval like this. And I'll sit back next to Mr. and Mrs. Albertson, and I'll show them, like, hey, here's the size of your pond right here. What do you think about it? 11 by 16 is the max size you want to go. Typically, we'll go like a 10 by 15 with the paint. We know then if we go 10 by 15, 2 feet down, we got enough liner, plenty of liner in the kit. Everything's within it. So we mark it out with a garden hose. They kind of already marked it out here. So all we do is basically give us a starting ground. And I'm going to walk my longest length right over here, which is 16. If you got a tape measure, great. If you got a size 11.5 boot, even better. 2, 3. So that's about right here is the longest that I got that I want to start excavating here. Now, when I shoot off of my elevation, off of a patio, I always try to stay, and you should always try to stay, now this is concrete, but you should always try to stay at least a foot buffer off of any patio or concrete pad. Try to stay a foot off of it. There are some cases where you can bring water right up to it. I'm gonna ask you to reinforce this patio a little bit more. There's a little extra step. But always try to stay at least a foot off of this with your design here. So I'm gonna stay basically about right there. You can see a nice subtle slope down here. So what we're probably gonna have to do is build up a little over here and we'll shoot off of the high side. So now I'm just gonna walk 11 this way. A little skinny right there. So now I got north, south, east, west, or southeast, northwest, whatever it is. Those are my 4 points that I really cannot go any wider. Now I'm not just gonna do a basic oval. I want some shape to it and stuff like that. So step one is basically marking out the pond. So all I'm gonna do, a garden hose is a great way so our stream and waterfall is going to come in here. So what I'm going to do is also kind of bend this guy way in and come way back out. Okay? Then maybe flare this guy in a little bit more. Like there. So now we just marked our size pond and it's like a peanut size shape. Don't get stuck on the shape right there. We got some curves coming in here, but when we set our boulders, that's really what's going to give it its shape coming around each side right there. So step one is set up right there for our waterfall to come in over here, and then our skimmer box is going to be over on this side that I'm going to show you how to position it. We kind of got to give a blueprint for our guys so they know where they're going to be hucking some dirt and they know how the day is going to flow, right? So where's their pathway for a wheelbarrow? So the first thing we set up is our filter boxes just like this, just so our guys can get a mental note of how everything's going to flow throughout the day. This is a mechanical filter down there. It's sized properly to this pond size that we're doing. It's a skimmer 1000. We position this down here because with water pushing from the waterfall on one side, this mechanical filter is pulling, so it's a skimmer. Our pump is in here, so it's all working in unison coming on into here. We also have to lay our plumbing line that hooks the two up. So step three is get out our plumbing line and lay that just on the ground and figure out the path that we're gonna go there. What's important with this biofall though is water's going to upflow through this filter. This is a biofall 2500, which means it can filter up to 2,500 gallons of water that we got going on right here. So I want to make sure that I position this filter in a way that I can benefit at the maximum viewing angles. So if I kind of drop this guy in like this, I get one drop here, and then I get another drop right here. I want to make sure that I have enough plumbing line that comes all the way down. So what we'll do is lay out this plumbing line. You get 25 feet of pipe, and I can already tell it's going to be kind of close coming up into this. So what I do is I lay that down on the ground. I want to save my effort in having to trench the entire 25 feet. Because we're bringing dirt in over here, a berm, everything we build from over there is getting flip-flopped over here. I don't have to trench all of this pipe until about right here, and even because I have to build this up a little bit, I can save some time. So guys, why don't you just go ahead, go from filter to filter. There's two inserts on the back of this biological filter that you see here. Use the one that's closest. The other one we're going to cap up. Okay, so now you can see that we're short. Do not call me and say, you guys shorted me on 4 feet of pipe. What should you do?
Call Chuck. Get in.
Call Chuck. Yeah.
I got plenty.
So you can either bring that over, swing that over a little bit, or you can move the skimmer. So why don't we just do a little bit of both, right? So this one right here, this will hook up to about right there. And that will hook up to about right there. And then we can trench it right here. You can even come a little bit this way. And now we still have enough flow that's coming. So our waterfall is going to push in this way. And then everything in this size pond is gonna get sucked right into the skimmer. I got a cool new toy I'm gonna hook up for you guys here today. It's a power head pump, so think of it as like a jet. So any dead area or any area that may not get as much flow as possible, we can set that in and kind of push and help it. And we call it, really, it's a koi treadmill. Koi loves sitting in front of this jet and just flushing their gills, fresh water's going across it. So we're gonna hook one of those bad boys up, you know, as well. So we have our filters set up just as we see right here. So that is step 1 is the paint, step 2 is position the filters, step 3 is lay the plumbing out, and step 4 is hooking up our biofalls.
Know about this? This is actually reverse thread. So the reason being, when you spin your MPT into it later to hook your plumbing into it, you don't want to unthread what you just tightened. You have a rubber gasket that's going to sit on the inside and a hard gasket washer that's going to be on the outside, along with the nut that goes on there. So just going to go ahead and feed it through from the inside there. We like to just throw a little bead of silicone around it, just as cheap insurance right here. Just spin that thing all the way around there.
Oh no.
Slide that on over top there. And then you want to get it to where it's hand tight. And then take your channel locks and go ahead and give it another 1/4 to a 1/2 a turn. We want to make this inner washer actually just slightly bulge. So I don't know if you can see this at all, but there's just a little bit of tension there on the washer. That's what you're looking for. You don't want to over tighten that. You can crack that inner washer. So, and then just repeat the process on the other side there.
You made a good point right there. These are gasket type seals, all right? You turn Hercules on this fitting, what's gonna happen, it's a manufactured mold. You're gonna turn it and turn it and turn it like Hercules, and you're gonna hear a pop. You're gonna look at it, you'll be like, it's weird. Or worse yet, one of your workers is gonna look at it and say, weird. He's gonna spin it again, and it's gonna get tight a little bit, and then it's gonna pop a little bit easier, and a little bit easier, and he's like, oh, I better not turn it that much. Well, what happened is he cracked the fitting on the seam. And so he's gonna turn it just enough to where it doesn't pop. And what is he not going to do?
Not gonna get a seal.
He's not gonna tell you that he's not gonna get a seal, right? He's not gonna tell, hey boss, you know what? I just heard this thing pop. Because he's gonna be afraid that he just broke it, right? He doesn't want to be responsible for it. He thinks that you're gonna come down on him. When the fact is, have a couple of these in your trailer, because you may have a guy that turns all Hercules on it, and then when you go, you're not gonna notice anything different. When you thread in that MPT fitting, that pipe fitting right there for the pipe, he's gonna thread that in, and it's a tapered thread. And so when he gets that threaded in, he's gonna open up that fitting a little bit, and then what is he not gonna get? That seal, right? It's gonna crack and blow out on him. So when that water turns on, it's going to expand that fitting, and you're going to get a leak right here, right? And so when there's no water, then it seals up a little bit. This will drop a little bit and stuff. So like, just explain the importance. Like, you can't bust anything on this job site. What's very important is that you tell me. So it's very important that you have a new rookie teammate that says, man, it's okay as long as we learn from these mistakes. That's why it's important. Maybe you have a Sanford & Son bucket of fittings, extra fittings. Leave everything. Keep everything from job sites and then use it. This thing, just a solid ground, okay? A lot of people think, oh man, what would have been really cool is if we set it up over here, we had a stream coming down and a bridge going over the stream and stuff. I'm gonna build this thing up 3 or 4 feet high to get me a nice big waterfall coming down. But if you, landscapers, you guys know to scale for berm, 2 to 1, right? For every foot I go up, I go 2 feet out. How many yards of dirt would I need to bring this thing up this high? A truckload, I bet, right? At least 20 to bring it up here, because I'm bringing dirt up to this lip, not just here. And so if I had that waterfall this high, I bet you I would need to bring that dirt all the way over here for my 2 to 1, right? That's not feasible. Most backyards, this is in Chicagoland, this is about as much slope as you will ever see in flat, barren, cornfield infested land of Illinois. Okay, this is about as much as we're gonna do. We're gonna get it down just an inch on the sod, spray paint around it, level it side to side, have it leaning forward towards the area of the fall, leaning forward just about a quarter to a half a bubble. That way, if it settles, it will settle level. The last thing we want is this thing to level back, because it'll go out the back and we get ourselves a leak there. So go ahead, position it, bring it to maybe a little bit closer. There you go. Spray paint around it. Mark that bad boy out, and then we're just gonna chop all of this up.
And for the record, Blake did spray all the sod with Roundup before too.
There's two things I can take to my grave.
Shingles.
Concrete cracks, excavated dirt settles. No matter how much you tamp it. What's important on these jobs is that everybody on that crew works together until lunch. All right, so we all do this, we all position, we all bring them whatever they need to filter it. Right now is when we'll typically start getting shovels in the ground and we're filling up a wheelbarrow and we're waiting for him to set this, to level it, because we're gonna take all of our dirt and we're gonna flip it upside down to start creating our berm here. Yourself a nice slope coming down into it. We use flexible PVC. This is the flex PVC line. When we hit a root, that we don't create any dips into that plumbing line, because if we create dips in the plumbing line, water will settle in there or settle. And if that water freezes, what can happen? Crack your pipe, right? So same exact thing, just make sure it's a nice clean line all the way down. We're ready to glue. Now plumbers, sometimes they use, you'll see plumbers come out here, this Red Hot, Christie's Red Hot Blue Glue. We don't need primer with it. Every good plumber will always tell you, always use primer. I don't care what you're using. Some don't, we don't. We just put it right in there, push it into the fitting, give it a half turn, hold it for 30 seconds. Now Kevin's job is not to move that biofall. He's gonna hang on to that level, because right now we're gonna dig, we're gonna start digging and bringing him up wheelbarrows of dirt, and we're gonna spread it out. Our first couple of wheelbarrows are gonna go close. Every second wheelbarrow, let's get a teammate and we're gonna tamp that down. The last thing we wanna do is bring a bunch of dirt up and just tamp the top, because then what is it gonna do? It's gonna settle a lot faster than we even anticipated. Everybody start in the middle, work your way out. The reason why we start in the middle is we all go down one shovel length. One shovel spade length. The entire pond should be about 8 inches deep. If we start in the middle, we work our way out, we can back out the wheelbarrow from that. Okay, so here we are, we're just in the thick of it. We're about 20 minutes into this right now, 30 minutes into it, and we've already accomplished 4 of our steps. So we marked out the pond, we positioned our filters, we laid the plumbing line, we hooked up the biofall, and we're up to step 5 right now, which is excavating the pond. Our goal right now is to get this entire pond dug, just for now, about 8 inches down. That's all we want, the entire pond 8 inches down within the spray painted lines. Once that's done, level to the eyeball, we'll go down another level. So stay tuned, we'll get right back to it. Okay, so right now what we're doing is we're burying the pipe. As you can see, we don't trench it all the way to the biofilm. We'll lay it right onto the ground, and we'll save energy just by trenching exactly what we have to here. So we went a couple inches down right here. We're gonna trench all the way. We're still gonna build up this edge a little bit. And the most important thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna stick flags in it at the end of the day so we know exactly where the plumbing line is. That's just in case when we start landscaping this, or if the homeowner landscapes it down the road, that they'll know exactly where this plumbing line is, because the last thing we want them doing is putting a spade right down into it and causing a leak for us. We got the shape of our pond from here on out. Now the next thing that I want to start thinking of is our next shelf down. In a pond this size, you can do 2 or you could do 3 shelves. It's really up to you. But what's really important is the depth of your first shelf that we have going around the top. It doesn't have to go all the way around like a bullseye, but we need some shelf for aquatic plants. Our marginal plants, they love water anywhere from like a 1/4 inch of water to like 6 inches of water. So when I mark out this next area, I just want to make sure I have a shelf in front of the skimmer box that's going over here, maybe a shelf along the back side for plants to go along the side, because I'm not going to put very tall marginal plants over on this side, because if I took tall marginal plants and they're sitting here on their nice patio, they won't be able to see their fall. So this area seems like a really cool area to have go deep, straight down to 18 inches to where the fish come right up and they can right out of their patio furniture, feed their fish right up in here. So I'm going to keep the shelf coming right over here, nice plant shelf in that corner and plant shelf along that corner. So all I'm going to do, so this area here. Now what I wanted to show you guys is I got real skinny over here. The problem with going real skinny is by the time I take a 12-inch boulder and I set it on this shelf, my shelf is gone, right? I just need a stable for that 12-inch boulder to sit here. So that means if I wanted a plant to go right in between the nook and cranny, I'd better bounce this out a little bit, you know, to give some room for plants right here along the edge. Right now I'm going to keep it because we're going to raise it a little bit. We'll just have to be mindful for not to use such a massive boulder right here. What's cool is I kept this shelf here fat because I noticed the size rocks that we have out there. There's a good ratio of rocks from small, medium, and large. I can put a large outcropping boulder right here and it will shape my water line, right? So it'll give me a nice edge right here and I'll suck it right back in and put tall plants over here along the back side. Now this will give me transition from marginal aquatic plants to my landscaping plants. When we cut up all this sod right here and start landscaping the back side, it's a nice transition from horizontal, which is our lily pads, to marginal, which are anywhere from 6 to 18 inches, to our tall landscape grasses. I see some awesome landscape grasses over there that Site One, the local Site One, provided for us. We're gonna have all of those awesome plants going along and nice transition coming right into this feature right here. So this area right now, this entire area is going to go down about another 10 inches or so, a little bit deeper, but let's bring this entire edge all the way down about 10 inches or so.
Should we be loading some dirt up on this side?
Yeah, so this good dirt here, let's start loading it up along the back side, except where that skimmer box goes. Ran into our first obstacle, and the cool thing about these one-day aquascape ecosystem ponds is you're gonna run into obstacles, but nothing's gonna slow you down. Here, we called out Dig Safe 811, or in Chicago we call it Julie. We call them out, they flag it for us, and we let them know, okay, so if your cable line is going to be shallow, we're gonna have to cut it. All they ask us to do is yank it up, tape it, flag it, so they can come back and reroute it. Another obstacle, or another thing you can do to handle that obstacle, is disconnect it from the house, wheel it all the way up and pull it out, and most times you'll have enough slack to be able to just go right around your water feature. We hit some roots already, we hit this cable already, we cut it, we'll wheel it up right here, we had drainage, but all of that stuff doesn't slow us down because we can reroute it. Follow the 20 steps and you'll have enough time to reroute it and avoid these obstacles.
So what we have here is a zip level, and this is actually going to help us determine our water level. You could use a string line and level, you could use a transit. This is just our tool of preference just because it's easy and there's really no thinking to it. So it's going to basically read off of wherever this is in relation to everything else. We want to set our water line approximately 3 inches below our standing grade. So we're going to go off this patio right here, and I have this zeroed out right now. And so we're gonna put it down here in the bottom and see where we're at. And we've got about 21 inches right here. So if we're another 3 inches below that, that means we're actually only about 18 inches deep in our pond right now. So we need to go another 6 inches or so in this lower section. And then we're also gonna use this to determine our skimmer, where that needs to sit, so we can set the water line on that accordingly. And we can also kind of determine where our waterfall height is gonna sit at, coming off the edge of the pond over there.
Your water level is going to come in right about this second screw, this first screw down right here. So your water level is going to be about 1.5 inches lower than this window right here. So I'm going to put the bottom of that stick right here at water level. Water level, we're looking at 3 inches, right? So when I put that stick right here on the bottom, I want it to be 3 inches negative to that patio. Drop your liner in here. It's just a small depression, so now the lily actually looks like it's growing right out of the base of the pond, right? You know, we don't put, the only plants we leave in a pot would be like a lotus, because it's such an aggressive plant to where its roots, if we were to take it right out of the pot and plant it in, its roots would take over, right? But a lily, a hardy water lily, you plant right into the gravel, it looks like it's growing right outside, rather than having a pot down here. Another plant you can leave in a pot are like your tropical water lilies, right? Some people bring those in, you know, and overwinter them inside. Right. We chuck them, we kind of treat them as annuals, but the tropical plants get awesome, huge, and big. You can make a large depression here and have a pot down in there to where you can just take your tropical lily and put it right down in there and hide it with gravel too.
We get a lot of cattails around here. People will put cattails in their pond, and then they'll just
they're all over. Stick to dwarf. Like dwarf anything, you're better off.
Yeah.
Having major cattails in here, candy stripe in here, it's just an aggressive plant that just takes over. And all we need to do, it's like weeding a garden. You got to thin it out. Ponds like this also become like our mini greenhouses, right? So when we plant a pot, or we put a plant in the pond, give it a couple of years of maturity, you know, it grows a lot faster than your perennial. We'll come back, we'll chop half of it, repot it, and then bring it to the next homeowner's place, you know? Clean up any rock, clean up any roots, all your shelves. Take 5 minutes to do that. In the bottom of the pond, you'll see a smaller depression about the size of a big salad bowl or a beach ball that we cut out there. Underlayment will go in it, liner will go in it. Now we have a nice pot, a man-made pot that we can put lilies right into. It won't be a mounded of lilies. Their tubers will be down deep, covered with gravel, and then it looks like the lily's growing right out from underneath the pond. Again, just we're working with Mother Nature, not against her. We want this thing to look as natural as possible. Plants out of pots, lilies out of pots, nice clean gravel and shelves. We'll have nice solid foundation for the rocks to sit on. What we got going on right now is the skimmer is at the exact level that we need it to for the water level. And I got my buddy Kevin here, certified aquascape contractor. We're about to fix up the plumbing. So we're using the same red hot blue glue. We're gonna make sure the fitting's nice clean inside as well as outside. We have our silicone sealant inside the thread, so as we thread it in, it's working its way into the bulkhead fitting. We're gonna join these two. This is the main plumbing line. This is the heart of the system, the circulatory system. So the pump's gonna sit inside here. We're gonna move water all the way through this 2-inch plumbing line up to the biological filter over there called the biofall. And on the opposite side here, if you see inside here, we have an adjustable overflow. Because we have a faceplate here that you can control your water level up to a traveling 2 inches up or down, that's a 90-degree fitting open-ended elbow to where we can turn it left or right to match the right water level. And then when water rises over that 90 and goes down in it, we're gonna run our overflow to the natural drainage swale that you see over there. That way, if we wanted to collect and reuse any water coming off of the roof, dropping down into the first flush filter, we'll come into this pond, naturally top it off, but then any higher water level that rises won't rise up and go over our edges and underneath the liner. It's gonna go out our overflow and escape the back side of the pond here. So show us what we got going on and let's hook her up.
All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and use this red hot blue glue. We don't use a primer on it, just make sure everything's clean.
This flexible pipe is awesome. It reduces friction on the pump itself. You can flex it into pretty tight areas like so. It goes in easily, a quarter turn right there, and we're gonna hold it stiff just like this. We used to use a poly pipe, a 2-inch poly pipe. Man, that stuff was rigid. You're pounding in barbed fittings. You're heating up the plumbing line to see if it can work. Well, Schedule 40 plumbing line, then you have all these fittings that add pressure to your pump. And Schedule 40 fitting, if any water's trapped inside there, it will crack and snap on you. All elbows, making sure you're level and stuff like this. This flex pipe is awesome. Okay, so what we have now is we have our underlayment that's going in right on top of the soil that you see here. This stuff is underlayment. It's a non-woven geotextile fabric, and the greatest benefit to this is not only does it provide a protection layer underneath our liner for rocks and roots and things like that, but it also allows gases to escape. So gases are allowed to escape from underneath, coming from the earth and weave their way out. And then also it's cheap and it's inexpensive. You know, back in the day, newspaper was used, but that's biodegradable. It rots, it smells really bad. Even we've seen carpet used, any type of underlayment people just put down there. This stuff for the money. You saw how fast it goes in. You see how flexible it is into the corners. And it's a great, again, breathable material to where it's gonna stand the test of time, at least outlive any one of us. And now we're about to drop on the liner, which is a 45 mil thickness rubber membrane liner. When you place these rocks up here, whether they're big, whether they're softball size, basketball size, beach ball size, the biggest thing about ponds is them being interactive, right? You want people to enjoy it, to get into this thing. This isn't something you yell at your kids to get out of, or yell at your dog to get out of. You just gotta build it solid, build it stable. What Roy here suggests, get the biggest person on your crew to walk the edges when it's done, so it's nice and solid and locked in to where it's not going to be a weeble wobble, and then tumble down to the bottom, or someone, is not able to get in and out. So right here, I'm going to set this solid foundational rock and then build off of that, and just make sure you support it. You can use a little smaller wedge rocks down in here. And then the next thing we try to do is always make sure we mimic a somewhat straight line to protect our edging.
All right, guys, so we're in the pond with Chris. Chris, what have we done so far to get to this point?
Follow the steps. And so step 1, marked out the pond. Step 2, position the filters. Step 3, lay the plumbing. Step 4, we hook up the biological filter. Step 5, we excavate the pond. Look at all of this dirt. It's already flipped up and out of here. We're good to go. Then we add the underlayment and the liner to get to this point. Now this point is the point that helps tie everything together. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train, because once we get done rocking this pond, all the cool artistry stuff comes to life. We get to take a break, we get to eat lunch after we start filling it up, and then afterwards we get to play with the waterfall rocks. We get to tidy up the little last thing, the edging, and add some lights. And so right now we're doing the heavy lifting. This is as hard as it's going to get for the day, but it's awesome. 20 steps, 20 products for the Aquascape ecosystem pond, and it's coming along awesomely.
All right, guys, so that has gotten you to this point in the pond build. The next video will be finishing up, filling it up, and then adjusting the waterfall and making it look beautiful, finished touches.
The last 10%, yep.
Where can they find more information? I know Greg Whitstock, the Pond Guy Vlogs, Aquascape.
Team Aquascape vlog. We also have an academy. We both have the online academy, what I would suggest would be your next step to get more information. You can go through our free Aquascape online academy. If you want to get your hands dirty, you're a professional. The next level would be the Aquascape hands-on academy that you can come out to Chicago and we'll train you. Those start in January. The next awesome event for the tradesmen is called Pandemonium, and Pandemonium is just awesome. If you are, struggling with your finances in your business, if you want to learn how to train a foreman, if you would like to learn do's and don'ts of adding rocks to a pond or planting a pond, come out to Pandemonium. It's like a school, a schedule of classes that you can learn from other professionals. August 21st through the 25th. There's no better place to get it all packaged together to learn everything about this business.
And you're hanging around other business owners, other people with the same mindset that want the same things. They're doing the same things.
And half of the time, these instructors that are out there teaching you, it's not Aquascape, it's professionals like you that are out there that have something to offer, whether it be at a cup of coffee round table is what we say. Bring your coffee, talk to another professional, talk about anything you want. But yeah, the instructors are top notch and willing to share.
Sweet.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys follow them. Team Aquascape, Greg Whitstock, the pond guy, and of course B&B Lawn Care. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.